And welcome to our meditation time. I have to tell you, I look forward to these moments that are these staples on my calendar, these places that I can just count on. The alarm goes off, the reminder, and all of a sudden, everything else just gets set to the side. And I hope that as you continue to practice whatever meditation looks like for you, that eventually you begin to feel that way as well. That it's not a burden or a chore, but it's actually something you anticipate. And so with that idea of anticipation, let's settle in. Let's get comfortable where we are in whatever spot you have found yourself. Remembering that the comfort of your physical self has to come first. That's one distraction you can take care of from the beginning. And as your eyes gently close and you begin to block out the distractions that are physically around you, begin to bring your attention to your breath. The breath that is always there, but that we forget about because we get busy, we get involved, we get distracted. But for this next moment, let's make the breath our focus. And let's try to be intentional about keeping that pace of breath that you've just discovered within yourself. The pace that you need for these few minutes that we have together. And hopefully, again, just like with showing up and anticipating, hopefully, like eventually, you'll start to rely on that breath as this regulator of your emotions, of your day, of your life. And it doesn't become something that you forget about its power, but it's power that you tap into regularly. But for now, as we've brought our attention to the present moment, we've brought awareness to our breath, I'd like for us just to spend these few minutes together today and over the next few times that we're together, really cultivating this relationship with ourselves. I spent several days talking about this idea of emptiness and spaciousness within us. And that was all grounded in this idea of learning to spend time with just us, letting the clutter go, separating ourselves from the distractions that are around us, finding times of quiet where we are so okay with the fact that it's just us there. And so I found a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh a few days ago, and it just kept surfacing back up, and I thought, this is the perfect one to think about this idea of the relationship that I have with me and the relationship that you have with you. And I don't know if that was his intention when he spoke these words, but I believe that there's truth for this cultivation of what we're trying to do for ourselves. So just listen to these words. He said, mindful living. We do it all day in our meditation practice. We do it all day without even thinking about it, but only if we have practiced it. So how do you practice it? Well, you look out at another person that you meet and you realize there are both flowers and compost inside of them. And you accept that just as it is. So if we're really going to practice this mindful way of living, we have to learn to water the flowers in others and not add to the garbage. And so I'm gonna just say that last part just again, and just so think about this, just picture. We interact with people all day long. And we realize they've all got flowers within them, they've all got compost. Kind of like that lotus and mud analogy. And we just accept that. We realize that people are going through difficult times. We also realize that they have wonderful, joyful things within them to celebrate. And we accept that about them. But I think his idea of us learning to live mindfully is asking us to go beyond that and turn that same consideration back to ourselves. We all have flowers and compost within us. And so think about, what is compost? It's garbage that begins to have a new purpose. You throw things in this bin, and over time, the garbage element of it breaks down, and it creates an environment where life can grow. Flowers, vegetables, whatever you want to picture. But it started off as garbage. And so we accept that about other people. We realize they're going through tough times, and we give them compassion. We give them patience. But what about us? What about the compost that's just going through the process in our lives right now? It needs time. It needs patience. It needs compassion. And if we will apply those things to this composting element within us, new life, flowers, vegetation, beautiful things will come. And Thich Nhat Hanh tells us, if we really want to practice this mindful way of living, the kind we do every day when we show up for meditation, if we want it in the other parts of our life, we have got to accept the fact that within each of us, there's composting happening and there are flowers growing. And so I want to just pause for just a moment and just kind of let that idea just settle in. Think about that idea and what it looks like within you. And then I want to just spend these next couple of minutes encouraging you the same way that I have learned to encourage myself through this journey. People are going to disappoint us. People are going to hurt us. They're going to frustrate us. They're not going to do the things that we had hoped or we had imagined. Relationships are going to go different directions than we had anticipated. And all of those things create the compost within our emotions. Because all of those things sit right there in how we feel. But just imagine if you could allow all these things that happen in and around us and in our minds to us. What if we could allow them just to have some time? Let the emotions be felt. Let the times of stillness come. And what you will discover is this composting process begins to happen. It's not quick, but it is a direction toward growth, toward beauty, toward flowers. And I recognize that each of us has experienced disappointment and frustration and hurt at what feels like it's the hands of others. And so I would ask us in our practice right here today to see those things, whether they are current in your life or maybe they just happened, or maybe it's been a while. See those situations as if you have this compost bin. It's right outside your yard. And very intentionally, you walk out and you set those things in the bin. The same way that you would discard eggshells and coffee grounds and vegetables. You set those disappointments, those frustrations, those hurts from the hands of others, and you place them in the bin. And then you're patient and you let the process happen. And at that point, the process has nothing to do with those people or those situations or those relationships. It has to do with us. We meditate. We move our bodies with intention. We sit and take in the beauty of nature. We treat ourselves kindly and compassionately. And then before we know it, that stuff that was sitting at the top of the bin has begun to shift and change what it looks like. Just like those eggshells and those vegetables, it's being broken down. It's changing its form. It's creating a situation now where beauty can grow. And so I'd ask each of us, what is the thing? What's the situation? What's the hurt that you need to see as the composting part of your life right now? That with intention, you can just set it to the side. And then love yourself compassionately, patiently, while the process happens. So I'll just pause here. Let's each just sit. It's not about answering the question. It's just asking it and just being open, being aware to whatever arises and breathing through it. And then I would ask you to picture the most beautiful example of a flower or vegetation that you've ever seen. See it in your mind's eye. See what could grow from all that composted stuff that you set aside. Once we put things in the compost bin, we don't go back and look at them and check on them. We let them be. What if we could do the same for whatever your thing is today? And I share this with you today, and I think the timing of Thich Nhat Hanh's words are so perfect, because as autumn comes and winter's next, spring seems really far away. But you can hang on to the image of this flower and what spring will look like in your own life. Learn to sit with yourself. Learn to be okay with the fact that you're going through a process, because on the other side is growth and life. In the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, within each of us, there is compost and there are flowers. And not only is it okay, not only is it good, but it is necessary in this life experience that we each get to live. Be mindful as we leave this time of what it is that you need to set aside so that you can learn to sit with yourself and be really okay with it just being you. Namaste.